Right, what's up guys, here on the PvP Central channel. My name is James, bringing you guys another video here today. Today guys, I want to talk to you again about Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And I'm going to do a direct comparison between Breakpoint and Ghost Recon Wildlands when it first launched, over 2 years ago now. And I thought it would be interesting to look at things in Wildlands that, although we loved the game, when it launched there were things that were far from ideal. And I think these are things that Breakpoint needs to improve upon in terms of gameplay, in terms of stability, in terms of missions, all of this sort of thing, just to sort of elevate the game to hopefully eclipse Wildlands. Wildlands now is in a really fantastic position in terms of, if you just pick up the game, it's pretty stable, and most of the things that I'm going to be mentioning now, at least some of them, have been changed. But there was a reason that Wildlands, whilst we love it, didn't do quite as well as some of the other games that released in the last year or two in terms of overall acclaim and overall enjoyment. There's a good community for Wildlands, but it's not up there in terms of acclaim, like the best of the best in terms of like games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War and all that sort of thing. So I thought I'd just address some things that I think need to be improved upon to help elevate Ghost Recon Breakpoint to the pinnacle of gaming, and they're all things that I think are fixable as well. So I'm not going to spend too long on it, but the first one I want to mention is something that is sort of more and more unacceptable in games, and that is having a buggy, unrefined game at launch. I think Anthem was the pinnacle of this, in that it just wasn't working properly. Fallout 76 as well, just dreadful performance, and Wildlands was by no means as bad as that, don't get me wrong, but there were a fair amount of glitches, a fair amount of exploits, and the game did crash for some people, and it just didn't run quite as well as maybe we'd have liked it to. And I feel that for Breakpoint to truly be an immense 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game, it needs to be running not perfectly, but very, very well on point. It needs to have consistent frame rates. It needs to be glitch free in terms of gameplay. Like if something goes wrong with a cutscene or something like that, I can more understand it due to an unforeseen circumstance, but you can't have it where I remember getting thrown from my bike or something like that whilst driving down a mountain and just flying down the mountainside as almost if I'm about to parachute, like that animation started happening. It's that sort of thing that needs to be rectified for the next game, and I'm certainly hoping they can do that. It's certainly possible. I mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2 earlier. I've been playing that recently. I got it for the summer, and that to me, obviously it's not a launch, but it seems to be really, really stable. It seems I've literally had 1 or 2 glitches, and this is an open world game. It's directly comparable to a game like Breakpoint, and I feel like it is certainly achievable. Ubisoft are very good developers, but glitches is something that their games are known for. We've seen it in various Assassin's Creed games, not so much in the last couple, but beforehand. And this is something that I hope I certainly hope to address. I want to get a really clean performance from the game when I first get it. Next one I want to address is driving and just working with vehicles in general. Vehicles seem to be quite an integral part of this new game in terms of the appeal of it, which is great. I love the direction they're going with this. Really cool gadgets, really cool new military vehicles and stuff. But vehicle control, when Wildlands release, was atrocious. It's not quite so bad now, but it feels so clunky when you're driving a car. The helicopters got better because they changed the control system. But driving land vehicles is the clunkiest thing in the world, which is weird coming from a studio that makes games like The Crew, which obviously is a driving game. It's not massively popular, but they literally make driving games, so it does kind of confuse me that they have such poor driving controls in the game, and that's where quite a lot of the glitches came in that I mentioned before, especially on bikes and stuff. It just seems really, really bizarre. I really liked the dynamics in certain parts of the controls in Wildlands. Like I think flying planes was always fine, but it could just get a little bit clunky, and I feel like even though Ghost Recon games aren't built around their driving elements, the same can be said for quite a few other games, say like Grand Theft Auto 5. The driving is really crisp, it's really clean, even though driving isn't the core feature of that game. So I feel like that's something they could definitely improve on, just to again get that really crisp, clean feeling for the game. And if I'm playing a military shooter, I want to be able to, or a tactical shooter where I am on the run. I don't want my mission to be ruined by the fact that something goes wrong that's out of my control and due to bad controls when I'm driving. The third thing I want to get into here, and I definitely think this is the most important one, is a wider variety of missions. If you take the missions in Wildlands in of themselves, in an isolated scenario, they are really, really good. They are really, really fun. And they were one of the highlights for me if you take them in isolation. However, it did sometimes get to the point where they felt a little bit repetitive. Going through all the same areas, obviously had all the different provinces and that sort of stuff, which I think was quite a cool concept, but it did kind of feel like, well, I've done my 5 or 6 missions in this province, let's go and do 5 or 6 similar ones in the next one. And I'm thinking that with the new dynamic of us being the hunted ones instead of being the hunters, there's definitely a scope for change here, and I'm hoping that does end up being the case. I can certainly see that happening, and it kind of feels like with Wildlands it felt like, well, I've got this province, I can take down this province in any order, even if it doesn't really make much sense, for some of them at least, and I feel like that could just be improved upon. Give me a wider variety of things to do, different ways of doing them, really make use of the new dynamic you've got going in the game that I haven't seen in a Ghost Recon game in quite some time. And that can certainly be addressed. And do remember, I am talking about release here. Obviously, they added loads of cool missions after that, the Predator mission being one of them, the Sam Fisher stuff, all of the U2 content we got. But on release, I want the main storyline to feel nice and varied, and that is something that I'm really hoping for in terms of action. Anyway, guys, that is all I've got for you now. I'm really interested to see what you want to be improved upon in Ghost Recon Breakpoint from Wildlands. Obviously, we do love the game, but we want Breakpoint to be even better than Wildlands was. And remember, I was just talking about the single player here. If you want me to, I can do a PvP video. That would be certainly something that I'm up for. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Thank you so much for the recent support, guys. See you in the next one.